So we are welcoming Olga Santabaya. Who is from Xperi, who will be telling us how to check for learners' understanding. So thank you very much, Olga.
Hello, thank you everybody for joining my workshop today. And this session is going to be very practical. So no ambiguous theoretical concepts, something you hopefully will be able to use in class. And I think that most of you are already using this form of strategy. So I'm going to be talking about how to check for learners' understanding through questions, instruction checking questions and concept checking questions. And first of all, why it's important? Because we build new knowledge on the existing basis. So if we miss a step, we have nothing to bridge our knowledge to, and students can seem quite lost and overwhelmed in this case. And to be honest, I'm talking from my own experience. I have zero knowledge of chemistry. This happened to me in secondary school when I missed a few steps, and then it just seemed too big to catch up. And I decided, oh, well, chemistry is not my area of strength. I'm just better at languages. And I just accepted my fate and moved on. And this is not the best choice I made as a student, but the strategy that checks for student understanding can hopefully prevent this sort of situations. And before we move on to actually, yes, again. Okay, before we look at how to formulate questions and kind of model of that, I'd like to ask you, what questions do not help us to check for learners' understanding and do not provide us evidence? In other words, which questions are useless and ineffective? Any ideas?
Did you understand?
Thank you. It's one of my questions. Some other ideas, other examples? Do you understand? Yes?
General questions.
Yes. So such questions are okay? Or can we move on now? Because in most of the cases, you'll get answer yes. Yes, I understand. Yes, we can move on. And why is that? Because some learners, they genuinely feel that they understand, but maybe their understanding is not the ones that we want them to have. Another reason could be, and this is actually related to a wonderful presentation given by students today earlier, is that there is this level of anxiety and fear of being judged, either by peers or by the teacher. So if you ask a question to the whole class, do you understand? There should be this one risk taker who should step in front of the class and say, I'm the one who doesn't understand. And this is not easy. So in order to avoid this situation and not use general questions, we can use instruction checking questions and concept checking questions, which are very specific, and they target a particular element of the concept you are going to check. Thank you. Okay, before we go into examples, the type of questions that we can use. And I'm sure you all know types of questions, but just to give a bit of context. So it's yes or no questions. For example, am I wearing boots? Yes. 50-50 questions. If you want to check between two similar concepts, am I wearing boots or shoes? Boots and shoes can be quite similar for students. So to check, they know that these are boots. Discrimination questions. So often you would put the word only in those. For example, is this skirt only black? No, it's yellow and blue and white. Information questions, when we ask students to give us information with WH questions, so it's what, when, why, and so on. And experience ones is when we try to relate to personal experience. So for example, do you like pizza? Or when was you've eaten pizza? So something that they can relate to, something that is personal. Thank you. And now let's more practical aspects of it. So let's imagine that you are teaching grade 2 and you set a task for your students. So in pairs, write as many adjectives as you can in 3 minutes. So this is quite a short task, quite easy, but it might not be for second graders. And last year I was working only with second grade, so I know that it can be quite tricky for many reasons. Maybe somebody wasn't paying attention to instructions. Maybe somebody doesn't know what adjectives are. Maybe it just was too long sentence to proceed. Can we go? Thank you. So even in this VB task, we can target specific elements to check whether students really understood. Yes, so to check whether they know they should work in pairs, the mode of work, we can ask a simple question, are you going to work alone? Yes or no question. To check whether they understood that they need to write something down. Do you need to write something down? Do you need to write those adjectives down? Because sometimes students do the brainstorming phase of the task and they just forget that they need to write it. And maybe it's crucial for your next step in the activity. Maybe then you want to build on it and write sentences or work with the form of the adjectives and so on. Whether they really understood about the adjectives element. Are you going to make a list of adjectives or verbs? 50-50 adjectives. And then give me some examples of adjectives, whether they know what they need to write down. Next one would be, one more click.
Oh, I thought I had.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. So how many adjectives do you need to write? And this would be quite a tricky question. As many as you can. So it's not one, it's not two. And the last one related to time, do you need to work fast? And on purpose, I didn't ask about how many minutes you have, because little ones, they might not have the perception of time. They might know that it's 3 minutes, but they don't realize that they need to work fast, and that's a limited time. So do you need to work fast? Yes. And in this way, we targeted every element of the instructions that we had. And this was an easy example, but then sometimes you would give lengthy or multi-step instructions, and this is when the questions come in handy. Thank you. Concept checking questions, they can target vocabulary items, so separate words or phrases or big concepts in general. And I'm using examples of a sentence. Jean-Michel Basquiat was a famous artist. I want to check understanding of the word artist. And why? Because I'm taking into consideration the context where I'm teaching. So in my classroom, the vast majority of learners are Russian language speakers. And in Russian, there is a word artist, which sounds very, very similar to artist, but it has a different meaning. So artist in Russian would be an actor in English. That is why I want to check so there is no confusion. And I start with something simple. Is artist a profession? Yes. Do artists act in movies? And here I will double check with the confusion they might potentially have. So no. Do artists paint? Yes. And then we can expand understanding with the help of the questions. Do artists only paint? Discrimination question. And here we can lead into discussion about that. Artists can create sculptures, artists can create music, we can talk about contemporary art, so expansion. What qualities does a good artist have? So again, deepening into the concept of artist, what constitutes a good artist? And then personalizing it as well. Who's your favorite artist, or do you like works of Basquiat and so on? Thank you. One of the advantages of the strategies is that strategy that you can use it with any level and any age. So for example, if you're working with very young learners, you might use pictures or realia to check understanding. So in preschool, we had a unit about homes around the world, and one of the key vocabulary concepts was a hut, which was new to students. So in order to check whether they understood what a hut is, just two different pictures, which one is. Both are homes, but then we check if they know what's a hut. And then if they have the language, you can expand it and ask simple questions, for example, yes or no. Are huts made of bricks? So here I'm targeting the materials, what homes are made of, to check whether they understand. Is a hut smaller than a castle? Comparing two different homes. And do huts have stairs to check composition inside? Because if you talk about what's inside a home, like what rooms and floors, here we're going to check if they understand what's inside a hut. Thank you. For language teachers, CCQs are the basis to check for understanding of grammar structures. And on the example, Jim is baking a cake for his sister's birthday. We're checking understanding of the time concept. So one of the basic CCQs would be, is this sentence about the past, present, or future? So on the timeline where it relates to. And then we want to contrast present simple and present continuous to check whether they understand that it's happening now or it's a ritual action. So is it happening now? And does Jim bake a cake every day? No, he doesn't. It's happening now. Okay. So why to use the strategy and when to use the strategy? For example, when you're giving instructions in a big class and you see that some students are drifting away and they're losing focus, this is a method to get them back on the task. For example, Tommy, are we going to cut out first or are we going to color the circle first? So to know the sequence. If task has complex and multi-step instructions, again, to check whether students understand every step and whether they know the sequence, what to do first and what to do after. And to check for concepts and vocabulary items. So when a new concept is introduced, prior to making it more complex and building on it to check whether they understand the basis. And it serves like an instant assessment tool. So you check what are the potential misunderstandings and you can correct them on the spot, as well as revision. And what I value the most is maximizes use of English language or language of instruction, any language of instruction, because it helps you to avoid going into translation. Through using language of instruction, you ask questions, so students perceive it in language of instruction and produce the answer as well. So I think that's one of the greatest benefits. And before we go to practical hardware, you actually have to engage with the questions. So a little checklist. The questions should be short and simple. So it's very important to make sure that questions are easier than the concepts you're trying to check. They're easy to answer 2 or 4 words. Each question should target a specific element, have a goal, and it's better to check all the main aspects of the concept. So several questions, and they should be logically sequenced. Okay, so now I would like to ask you to join Kahoot. Ms. Claire will put the QR code on the screen in a bit. So one of the engaging ways to use the strategy is through digital games. I'm sure you all know Kahoot. So we will check whether you understood my performance today about the questions. So in a second.
Is it not sharing? What's happening?
Class mode?
Well, no, but it should be already there. Why? Okay, hold up. I'm just gonna get out of this.
It won't be. We need to share.
No, I know, but it's not. Okay, so hold on. Let's see like this.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So you can scan the QR code and then enter the game. Hello. Hello. Okay, 4. So 2 more people, I guess. Okay, then we can start. Ms. Ford, can you start the game, please? Okay. ICQ stand for initial checking questions, instruction checking questions, immediate checking questions, or imagination checking questions. Okay. Instruction checking questions was the correct answer. True or false? CCQs are concept checking questions. Is it true or false? CCQs are concept checking questions.
Trying to remove this.
You can drag it, but then you don't know the question.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Very good.
We're not going to shame anybody.
Yeah. ICQ and CCQ should be short and simple, easy to answer in 2-4 words, with a specific goal, or all of the above options.
We've got 38 seconds.
Yes. Okay, very good. Everyone is right. And I think it's going to be the last question. Which one is the discrimination question? Do you need to draw 3 circles? How many circles do you need to draw? Do you need to draw only circles? Or do you like drawing circles? Which one is discrimination? Three, two, one, and yes, with only when we, yeah, is it only something? Then with the discrimination, we want one answer. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for taking part in the game. Last, oh, sorry.
Oh, it's not finished.
Which question does not check understanding of the meaning of the word transparent? We're talking about the meaning, not the form. So is transparent an adjective? Because adjective, we're talking about the grammar, the form, adjective, verb, and so on, not about the meaning, what it actually means. Thank you so much. Who is on the first?
Oh, sorry. I purposely got out of the, being very careful here.
Now we're going to have one more activity. I will ask you to write one concept checking question to check understanding of the concept student, which is easy and complex at the same time, because student can be many very different things, many different qualities in many different settings. So Ms. Fleur will share a QR code. You will get to a Padlet, and please post one question that will check the meaning for the students. And you can approach it from many different ways. And while you're doing that, I'm also open to answer your questions if you have some feedback, questions, comments.
We still have 2 minutes, and then after that, another 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're good with for question.
Good. Do I add a new post? Yes. Please add a new post. And can we now share the Padlet so we see the questions that come up?
Yes.
Thank you. And yes, this one. Maybe refresh it to see if. Okay, wonderful. So we start getting questions.
Yeah, hold on. I have to go back to. Yeah, we're back.
Okay. So is student a human? That's really good. Is student a human? Can anyone be a student? I really like, can anyone be a student? It prompts further thinking. Then we can talk about age, we can talk about different areas of studies. Wonderful. And is student a human? It captures the central element of it, that it's a human capacity to learn something new. Other questions? Okay. Is student a profession? Do students learn? Do students learn? Yes or no question. Very good. So again, central meaning of it. And is student a profession? Excellent, because then we can talk about that. It helps to get a profession, helps to get new knowledge. Wonderful. Thank you very much. And does a student teach? Very good, but which can be tricky because some students, I'm a student right now as well. I'm doing my master's and I'm teaching at school, so it can be both. Very good. And all the questions, again, we learn through inquiry, we learn through asking questions. So first of all, these modules to students, how they can do it. And this can prompt very, very good and interesting discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Olga. And do you have time, 3 to 4 minutes for further questions or comments? Floor is yours.
Yes, that was the first came to my mind. Is your master somehow connected with this topic, like the thing?
No, actually not. I'm doing master's in international education, but this is something I learned in my first step of education towards being a teacher, which was CELTA, English language teaching for speakers of other languages. And this is basically what the key, the absolutely central strategy that we use in class with all the learners, starting from very beginners to advanced learners, because yeah, again, how adaptable it is to any topic, and because in multilingual classrooms, you don't have the opportunity to switch to mother tongues. You can't use really translation. So you have to find strategies to be able to check understanding and deliver the meaning through the language of instruction, while students are learning new vocabulary. So that's why I really think that this is useful, and this is what I personally use in class all the time. Thank you for the question.
Yes, so there was a request to show again the characteristics. Any further questions or comments?
I heard a research about questions, and an expert in England said that if student comes up with questions why, then he's a scientist to be.
Oh, that's very interesting finding.
What did you say? What is it? Okay, what for?
Yeah.
It's just a level only. But
Yeah.
if you start asking why questions, then you are a scientist.
So it's like higher order thinking.
All little kids are scientists.
You are theory, right? Until the theory, then
Yeah.
Olga, thank you very much for
Thank you.
challenging us into being better at asking questions. And I think what really stands out in the presentation is that it's immediately applicable. And I think we'll all benefit from that great research. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.